That is embarrassing. My bad. I was muted. Good evening, everybody. Let's try that again, and welcome to Carving It Up Live right here on Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitter. I'm Bryson Carver. As always, excellent weekend we had in sports. Had a lot of great baseball, basketball, NFL draft concluded on Saturday. It was a great weekend. We got a lot to talk about. I'm going to talk about those Lakers who are sputtering right now, to say the least. I'll also talk about LeBron's confusing comments about the NBA plan, which all of a sudden the Lakers now find themselves in that conversation, which is hard to believe considering the expectations they had coming into this year. Also, the Packers have one final hope, just one, to keep Aaron Rodgers in the building. I'll tell you what that is and why they need to make it happen coming up later on the show. Also, I heard Kendrick Perkins earlier today. I think it was on First Take on ESPN. He was saying if you put the two guys' careers together, he would take Russell Westbrook's career over Allen Iverson's career. I will break that down and why he is out of his mind saying that coming up next. But first, the LA Lakers. Whew. Not looking good right now, folks. 5 losses, last 6 games. And, you know, I've been going back and forth. Is it the Lakers who are the favorites or is it the Nets who are the favorites? At this point, I'm going to do what I did during the NFL season when before the year I predicted Tampa Bay would play Kansas City in the Super Bowl and Tampa Bay would win it. Now, throughout the year, Kansas City looks great. I mean, they did start to finish. They finished 14-2. They were 14-1 when Mahomes played. Home field advantage throughout the playoffs. For Tampa Bay, the road was a little more rocky. They actually lost to Kansas City in Week 12, had a 7-5 record, and it's all of a sudden it's like, I don't know about Tampa Bay. Well, I decided, you know what? I'm going to go down with the ship. And they won 4 straight into the playoffs and 4 straight during the playoffs, all culminating in a home Super Bowl win over, you guessed it, the Kansas City Chiefs. So I'm just going to go down with the ship. Before the year, I said Lakers, Nets in the finals, Lakers in 6. Now, Lakers in 6 now apparently means Lakers as the 6, as in Lakers are the 6th seed in the Western Conference, and they are tied at 7th. As I'm looking at the standings right now, they are tied with Portland and Dallas. Now, Dallas is the 5 seed out west, but in the 7th seed is Portland, who also has the same record. Now, keep in mind, and I'll get into LeBron a little later on, LeBron James is not playing tonight. Obviously, he sat out the last 6 minutes and change last night in the Lakers' most recent loss to the Toronto Raptors because that ankle injury apparently is continuing to bother him, which is concerning because obviously he's rushed back. Obviously, I mean, clearly he was not. I've watched the 2 games against Sacramento and against Toronto. He is a shell of himself. I mean, think of it. Before LeBron got hurt, before he went down with that ankle injury against the Atlanta Hawks, he looked like the MVP, or at least an MVP candidate. As I have a comment right here from my man Ryan Flowers, Clutch Sports Talk. Go check out his show. Lakers will find a way somehow, I hope. And he's got the emojis that look a little concerned. Let's put it that way. And Ryan is a Lakers fan. So, yeah, I don't blame you for being concerned, man. I really don't. Especially because of the fact that LeBron's out tonight. It's a back-to-back. His ankle is clearly not 100%. He needs tonight off. Lakers play on ESPN tonight against the Denver Nuggets, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. And Denver, even without Jamal Murray, is on a roll right now. And it appears Nikola Jokic is separating himself from the MVP discussion. So a red-hot Nuggets team is going to be playing an ice-cold Lakers team who is not going to have LeBron James or Dennis Schroeder, for that matter, who is out 10 to 14 days under the health and safety protocols list. So I don't know if he has COVID. I don't know, but he's out for 10 to 14 days. So the Lakers are without their starting point guard and their best player / leader, LeBron James. So to say concerning is an understatement. Yeah, I know we always say, look, the regular season doesn't matter. And unfortunately, in today's NBA, and I talked about it on another one of my good friends' show, Barry Grant Jr., check out his show, the All Even Podcast. I was on his show Saturday, and we were talking about how much the regular season really doesn't matter. And look, it doesn't. That's the crappy thing about it. But you want to, at the end of the season, the Lakers are, and everybody else for that matter, they're in their final 10 games. So you would think you would want the Lakers to finish, 7-3, 8-2 down the stretch, possibly get some momentum, get some minutes together, LeBron and AD and the crew going into the playoffs. Yeah, they're going to be limping into the playoffs. Heck, they might be limping into the play-in. Look at the Lakers' schedule from here on out. It's brutal. So they already got Denver tonight. They're not beating Denver. Denver's red hot. There's no LeBron James. There's no Dennis Schroeder. They're not beating Denver tonight. Okay, Thursday night, they play the Clippers. Clippers got Kawhi Leonard back. I mean, maybe the Lakers pull it out, but that's not going to be an easy one. Okay, then they go on the road to play Portland. Portland's won 4 straight games and has played great team basketball. Okay, then they play Phoenix. Phoenix is the 1 seed right now in the West. Then they play the Knicks. The Knicks have won 10 of their last 11. Those are the Lakers' next 5 games. And then they finish, of course, with Houston. They'll win that one. Indiana, not easy. Sabonis had a great game the other night against OKC. And then they finish with the New Orleans Pelicans, who are the most confusing team in the NBA. But specifically, these next 5, the Lakers in some big trouble. Big trouble. Let me repeat that. Denver, Clippers, Portland, Phoenix, New York. Those are the Lakers' next 5 games. And mind you, a lot of these are at home. Okay, we can just go and say it. 4 of their next 5 are at home. I know the Clippers is technically a road game. Staples Center is the Lakers' house. That's never going to be the Clippers' house. And I still hold to the fact that I believe whether it be against the Lakers, against the Nuggets, heck, against the Mavericks, Clippers will find some way to screw it up. That's what they do. They will find a way to screw it up. So no, Clipper Nation, I was on your side last year until you blew a 3-1 lead. I'm off the bandwagon. I'm off the Clipper bandwagon. I'm not falling for the same old tricks again. Okay? But so I'm still not putting the Clippers as the favorites out west. At this point, and I still don't trust Utah, are we looking at the Phoenix Suns as a favorite? Now I get it. They're young. Great young coach. Obviously, Chris Paul is, without a question, top 5 in the MVP discussion. Look what he's done there. Forget the stats, man. His impact on the team is unbelievable. Okay, Devin Booker's having a great season. DeAndre Ayton, Jay Crowder. I mean, they've got a really, really good basketball team in Phoenix. And they're the 1 seed out west. And again, like I mentioned, this coming Sunday, 6 days from now, they play the Lakers. But when you just look at this team right now, they're discombobulated. They can't buy a shot during some stretches of games. They're not playing good defense. You want to build, especially if you're a championship-level team, which the Lakers are, you want to build championship habits down the stretch of a season. Now, if there's one thing Lakers fans can hang their hat on, let me speak to you as a Golden State Warriors fan. I know I'm wearing my Red Sox hat. I've always said on this show. Geographically, when it comes to my favorite sports teams, I'm the weirdest guy you'll possibly ever meet. It's Dallas with the Cowboys, obviously, unfortunately, down in Texas. Then I go all the way up to the New England states with Boston, and now I'm going all the way out west with the Warriors, and then going all the way out to Tennessee and Knoxville with the Tennessee Volunteers athletic program. I'm all over the place. Forgive me for that. The point is, let me speak to you as a Warriors fan. I remember back in 2017, 2018, which happens to be the last time the Warriors won the championship. Okay, and it was a crazy year. Steph was dealing with injuries left and right. Clay. This is pre-ACL tear, pre-Achilles tear, Clay. Like, Clay had been known as one of the most durable players in the league. Even he was dealing with injuries. KD was dealing with injuries. Iguodala, Draymond was dealing with injury issues. And down the stretch, the last 10 games of the regular season, Golden State finished 4-6. They did not play good basketball, and they capped it off with a 40-point loss to the Utah Jazz. It was bad. But what did they do? They got to the playoffs. They beat San Antonio in 5 games. They beat the Pelicans in 5 games, got Steph back. Houston was a big problem, but they survived in 7, and then they swept Cleveland in the finals. So outside of one series, Golden State breezed through the playoffs in 2018. That was with all kinds of injuries. That was with boredom of, are we there yet syndrome, as I've heard many call it. Like, when are we going to get to June? Like, all these different things, just distractions of being the defending champs. And we all know how hard it is to repeat. And we're seeing with the Lakers struggling with that right now. This is just how it goes. So if there's one thing Lakers fans can hang their hat on, it's that, going back to back is hard. It is hard, ladies and gentlemen. So they're not playing good basketball. If I were a Lakers fan, I'd be really concerned right now. Especially with these next 5 games come out. Now, I'm not suggesting they'll go 0-5. They're not going to go 0-5 through these next 5. Okay, it's the NBA. You're going to get LeBron James at some point during the stretch. I assume he'll probably come back as soon as Thursday against the Clippers. maybe an opportunity for the Lakers to turn it around, get a statement win against their arch rival. Of course, that might be an insult to the Lakers to call the Clippers an arch rival. It's more like, Celtics and other teams, Sixers, do with that what you will. But let me shift now to LeBron James. Again, like I said, he's not put up horrible stat lines. Really, these last 2 games he's been back, he hasn't played horrible basketball, but he clearly has not been himself in the slightest. Heck, Anthony Davis, since he came back from injury, has not been himself. And by the way, let me talk about AD real quick before I get to LeBron. Let me just talk about Anthony Davis. He is proving through this stretch what I've always said about Anthony Davis. First of all, what I've always said, man, he's talented. I mean, he's one of the best big men, one of the 3 best big men in the league. I mean, really, to me, it's Embiid, Jokic, and Anthony Davis. Like, I know he's a power forward, but if we're talking about, true big men in the NBA, he's 3 behind those 2. Okay, he's a great player. He's a future Hall of Famer. But if he's the best player on a team that you think can compete for a championship, it's not going to work. It's just not. I mean, we even saw last year. I remember games LeBron would sit out, to rest, and they would struggle with some of the worst in the NBA. With a fully healthy Anthony Davis, they would struggle. So you look at these last few games, and AD has been terrible. By his standards, AD has been terrible. So now to LeBron. He made some comments last night. And you know me, I'm a LeBron James fan. I used to be part of the LeBron James hate club, but about 3 years ago, when he carried that Cleveland team to the finals against my Warriors, I was like, I can't hate on this dude anymore. I can't do it. I mean, for real. I mean, we're talking about, I kind of had this epiphany, like, stop hating on greatness. It's been a constant theme for me on this show. Stop hating on greatness. Don't hate Tom Brady. You don't have to love him, but don't hate on the man. Okay, the man has 7 rings. Okay, he's the greatest quarterback ever. Nick Saban. Technically, Alabama is a rival of Tennessee. They're not. The point is, for years I hated on Saban and the Alabama football program, but I got to a point where I'm like, wait, why am I hating on these guys? Saban's the greatest coach ever. All of Alabama's players are good, obviously great, college players. They succeed in the NFL, but they're high character guys, dudes you want to root for. Like, why am I hating on these guys? I can't stand the fans. I know Alabama fans. I can't, I've told them I can't stand Bama's fans. But as far as the athletic program or the football program, I should say, and Nick Saban, got nothing against them. Okay, same with LeBron James. Those who hate on him, I can't help you. I can't. I'm sorry. I can't help y'all. But I gotta call out when I see it. I don't know what the flip he was talking about last night. So I just said the Lakers are the 6th seed, and with a loss tonight, which they will lose to Denver, if Portland wins, and I think Portland plays. Who does Portland? I know Portland has a pretty big game tonight themselves. The Portland Trailblazers play Atlanta. They play on the road at Atlanta tonight. Not going to be an easy game. But if Portland wins, which is certainly not out of the question, they've won 4 straight. And when the Lakers lose tonight, ladies and gentlemen, the Los Angeles Lakers will be the 7 seed. And you know what that means? This year, that would put them in the play-in tournament. So they would be 2 losses away, 2 back-to-back losses away from back-to-back championship hopes evaporating. So LeBron is obviously aware of this. Lakers fans are. Lakers players are. All of us are aware of this. This is like, how is the defending champs, the team that dominated the bubble in the playoffs last year, they gentlemen swept Portland, they gentlemen swept Houston, and they gentlemen swept Denver, and then they took care of business in 6 games against Miami. Just breezed through the playoffs. How is this team 7th? Even adding Andre Drummond, I thought they had a better overall roster this year than last year, which doesn't look like it. But LeBron made comments about the play-in. So let's go back to 2020, just a year ago. When this was being proposed, obviously you had the play-in tournament out west. You had the 8-seeded Portland Trailblazers and the 9-seed Memphis Grizzlies. And how it went was, if Portland won 1 game, they got into the playoffs as the 8th seed. But if Memphis won the first game and then won a game after that against Portland, Memphis jumps the Blazers as the 8th seed in the Western Conference. And the NBA looked at this as like, you know what? This is a good kind of appetizer for the playoffs. it drives high ratings. Like, hey, let's think about keeping this. And when the discussion was happening, LeBron was asked about it, and he said, quote, "So if there's 5 or 10 games left, why not those guys battle it out? Make them play each other all 5 games." Basically saying he was in favor of a play-in tournament. Last night, he was asked about the play-in tournament, and it was a complete reversal. He said, quote, "Whoever came up with that," I'll say crap. He didn't say crap. You know what he said. "Needs to be fired." Well, that was a complete 180. So, and again, love LeBron. What he's done off the court, can't say enough about the man. What he's done on the court, can't say enough about the man. But I don't know what the heck he's talking about here. Okay? If you don't want to be in the play-in, know what sounds harsh? Don't put yourself in that position. Now, I get it. He was out for a month. He was out for a month and a half, really, with that ankle injury. I get at that point, he can't control anything. But now he's back. If you don't want to play in the play-in, you got to start winning some games and avoid the 7 seed. If you avoid the 7 seed, good for you. You got a week off before the playoffs. Last day of the regular season is May 16th. Playoffs start on May 22nd. He basically have 1 week off to rest, which would be huge. If there's any team, heck, not just out west, in the entire playoff picture that needs a rest, it is the Lakers. They got an older veteran roster. Of course, LeBron's dealt with injury issues. So has Anthony Davis. Obviously, we all know the wear and tear that comes with the regular season. And even with this being a 72-game regular season, it's been compressed because they didn't have enough time or much time to get in the regular season, considering, the circumstances last year with the pandemic and the season ending in October. So if there's any team that needs rest, it's the Lakers. And so LeBron's, they got to hold a team meeting. They got to do something. And they got to say, you know what? We need a week off. Let's give a playoff type effort these next few games. Right? Again, I already gave you their next 5. It is not easy. They're playing playoff teams in all these next 5 games. But if we can win 3 of 5 and then win our last 3 games against Houston, Indianapolis, and New Orleans, who we assume will probably be out of the picture, even the play-in picture, by the last day of the regular season, hey, guess what? You finish the season 7-2, or not 7-2, 6-2. Finish the season 6-2 with momentum. Get a week off. 5 seed. Here we go. Let's go win a championship. You don't want to be limping into the playoffs, and you darn sure don't want to be limping into the play-in tournament if you're the Lakers. Because again, if Portland wins tonight and when the Lakers lose, they will be the 7 seed. At least today in the standings, or tonight. So this is a big stretch here for LA. They have to win these few games. I think if they slip down to 7, Lakers championship hopes are gone. Because they'll have to play at least 1 extra game against a desperate team, whoever the 8 seed would be, whether it's Memphis or Portland or Golden State or San Antonio. Whoever's at that 8 spot is obviously going to be desperate. Hey, let's go ahead and win this game, not have to play an extra one, not put ourselves in an elimination situation, and get ourselves into the playoffs. Lakers do not want to be in that spot. They don't want to have to be in a game 7 before the playoffs even start. They got to start winning some games. And so, love LeBron James, but his comments here make absolutely no sense. Just 5, 6, 7 months ago, he was all for the play-in. Now that he's in this situation where he could have to play in this play-in tournament, he said whoever came up with that crap needs to be fired. Okay, so now he's calling for people's jobs which, by the way, all NBA owners had to vote on this. Like they didn't, a commissioner can't just say, Adam Silver can't just say, okay, we're going to do this play-in tournament and that's how it is. No, the owners got to vote on it. And guess what? 30-0 vote. I heard Mark Cuban, to be fair to LeBron, he's not the only one that's criticized this plan, which I think the plan's great. It adds more drama. It adds more meaning to the regular season, which the NBA desperately needs. But Mark Cuban and Luka Doncic a couple weeks ago were talking about the play-in, and they were saying, hey, it's just the worst thing in the world. Avoid it. And hey, to the Dallas Mavericks' credit, they're the 5 seed today. They would avoid it if the season ended. So if you don't want to be in this situation, win games. You're Luka Doncic. right? Dallas is a good team. Obviously, they're very well coached. Rick Carlisle is one of the best coaches in basketball. Okay, you're more than good enough to avoid the 7 or 8 seed. So that's all I got to say about this. I got to call out BS when I see it, and this is BS on the part of the Lakers and LeBron James specifically. So that's that. Now, let me shift to a debate that was started today by none other than Kendrick Perkins. Kendrick Perkins was a decent NBA player, center. Obviously, he was with. Just think about the players that Kendrick Perkins played with in his career. You know, we're talking about Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen. He was with the Big Three in Boston. Okay, he's played with LeBron on numerous occasions. He played with Durant, Westbrook, and Harden in OKC. Who am I missing? He's played with other great players. I know he played with Anthony Davis briefly in New Orleans, and that was rough. But point is, Kendrick Perkins has played with some great players. Played with Kyrie Irving. He's played with the best of the best in the NBA today, and even a decade ago. But he was talking today. He's an NBA analyst now for ESPN. Good at his job. He really is. He's a really good analyst. I'm pleasantly surprised. But he was talking about Russell Westbrook, and Russell Westbrook in recent games, even for a guy who's a Russell Westbrook skeptic, let's put it that way. Russell has been going crazy recently. I mean, he's just racking up massive stat night after massive stat night. He played unbelievable the Wizards last game. He's been amazing. And the Wizards have played great basketball, by the way, over the last 3 weeks. They played excellent. Okay, Russ has been unbelievable. But Kendrick Perkins had the audacity to go on First Take today on ESPN and say, if I stacked up the career, I'm paraphrasing, but this is basically what he said. If we're stacking up the 2 careers, Russell Westbrook, Allen Iverson, I'd take Russell Westbrook. Oh, boy. This is getting out of control now. And we saw this back in 2016-17 when Westbrook won the MVP and frankly shouldn't have won the MVP. It should have went to James Harden, but that's neither here nor there. But we're talking again about a guy who's a great player. Russell Westbrook today, if he retired today, would be a first ballot Hall of Famer. No question about it. One of the greatest point guards ever. One of the 10 greatest point guards ever. He's got an MVP. I'm going to go through their accomplishments in just a second. But if you compare the two, Russell Westbrook's in his 13th year. He's in his 13th NBA season. Okay, Iverson played 15. Okay, so they're kind of, and we all know Iverson those last 3 to 4 years wasn't breaking, well, I mean, he was breaking dudes' ankles, but he wasn't the same. So if we're going to stack up the 2 careers, Iverson and Westbrook, to me, it's really not a debate. So first of all, both guys have an MVP. Iverson in 2001, Westbrook 4 years ago in 2017. Okay, so now we're looking at All-Star games. Iverson's an 11-time All-Star. Westbrook's a 9-time All-Star. Okay, both guys have won 2 All-Star game MVPs to their credit. But then we go to Iverson, 3-time All-NBA first team. Westbrook, 2-time All-NBA first team. Iverson, 3-time All-NBA second team. Westbrook's a 5-time All-NBA second team. Iverson's a 1-time All-NBA third team. Westbrook's a 2-time All-NBA third team. Now we get to the nitty-gritty. Okay, Iverson is a 4-time scoring champion. 4 times he did that. Westbrook's a 2-time. He's in half that. Okay, how about Westbrook's a 2-time assist leader in a season? Iverson's a 3-time leader in steals. So Iverson would lock you down. Iverson would play defense. Whether it's jumping passes, whether it's playing one-on-one. He was a great player. He's a great player defensively as well. One of the better defensive point guards in the league. 3-time steals leader. Okay. And by the way, both guys have played in 1 finals. Both of them lost. The difference, however, Westbrook was the second best player on that Thunder team that made it to the finals and played the Miami Heat and ultimately lost in 5 games. Iverson was not only the best player on the 76ers, he was the best player by a mile. By a mile on that Sixers team that lost to the Lakers in 5 games. It was a miracle when Iverson carried them to that Game 1 win over Shaq and Kobe. I mean, it was incredible. Unfortunately, I wasn't alive to see it, but hey, I've seen the highlights like everybody else. And so when we look at the totality of these 2 guys' careers, by the way, Iverson's been way more influential to the game than Westbrook. Anybody could acknowledge that. The fashion, the whole bit, right? Iverson was way more influential than Westbrook. Westbrook can dress the way he does because of Allen Iverson. Okay, not that Westbrook has bad fashion taste, although some of his choices have been questionable at best, but we'll leave that, for another day. He got that from Iverson. Okay, I'm not saying their styles are the same, but he got that kind of, I guess, flair, you could say, from AI. If we're talking about a guy, I always say, one game for your life. It's a Game 7 NBA Finals, okay? Who do you want on your squad? If you got a bunch of average players and you're a big underdog, you want Westbrook or you want Iverson? To me, that is not even close. That is not even a debate. If you're smart, you're taking Allen Iverson. Simple as that. So Westbrook's a great player. He's first ballot Hall of Famer. But let's not act like he's not had his struggles time and time again in the postseason. Okay? The man's won, I think, 5 playoff games. No, he's won 6 Think about this. Russell Westbrook, since KD left him in 2016, has won 6 playoff games. Not series, games. Got beaten 5 games by Houston in 2017. Got beat by 6 by a rookie Donovan Mitchell in 2018 when he had Paul George and Carmelo Anthony. Got closed out in 5 games against the Blazers when Dame waved them goodbye. Waved Westbrook goodbye to Houston and Paul George goodbye to LA with the Clippers. And then got gentlemen swept last year by the Lakers. Not saying Iverson was perfect in the postseason, but Westbrook has a much worse postseason resume than Allen Iverson. As I got a comment from Barry Grant Jr. from the All Even Podcast, shout out. He said, great talent, not a winner. That's it. And some of this, and see, me and you talked about it recently, Barry, on your show. You can be a great player, okay? And we talk about the regular season. It's been rendered meaningless. The problem, though, with Westbrook, see, if we could find the middle ground between Kawhi Leonard, who doesn't give two you-know-whats about the regular season, and Westbrook, who treats every regular season game like Game 7 of the finals, if we could find a middle ground between that, the NBA would be awesome. It would be great, or at least the regular season would be. But, yeah, that's the thing. Westbrook puts all – and listen, I hate saying this because we ask our athletes to give their best effort. And they should, right? They're getting paid millions of dollars. But you got to save your body for the playoffs, okay? Because at the end of the day, that's where legacies are built, is the postseason. What's the most iconic play of Allen Iverson's career? The crossover on Ty Lue in Game 1 of the finals against the Lakers, knocks down the shot and stares at him and steps right over Ty Lue. Like, that's iconic. We all remember Allen Iverson as a rookie crossed up Michael Jordan, the greatest player ever. Like, Iverson had moments. Iverson doesn't have a ring, but the man has moments that we remember. What do we remember as far as moments by Russ? I mean, he's had some amazing game winners, but they've been in the regular season remember he hit one against the Nuggets. He had a big game back in 2017. I know he had a big game tying 3 against, I think it was the Magic back in 2015 when, he was still teammates with KD. So it just goes to show you that I get the regular season has been rendered meaningless. But part of Westbrook's problem is he takes it too seriously to where we get to the playoffs and he's spent. He's exhausted. So, and then that's, we just look at accomplishments. AI's made 2 more All-Star games. He's a 3-time steals leader. Okay. A 4-time scoring champion. Like, people forget how great Allen Iverson was, especially in his prime. I mean, he was, man, you would talk about a guy you want, I would say one game for your life. Man, Allen Iverson's up there. Probably not my top 5, to be honest with you, but he's up there. So I don't even think this is a debate. And Westbrook's a great player. He is, and he's been playing, to his credit, he's played unbelievable. And he's put Washington back into at least the play-in. They'll be in the play-in. I think they've gained too much ground in Chicago. Zach LaVine's been out for a while. So they'll be in the play-in, at the very least, as the 10 seed. They'll have a shot to make the playoffs. But if we're talking about a guy like, do you want Westbrook, one game for your life? You want Russell Westbrook? Because I don't. Okay, and we all remember back in 2016, He plays amazing through 4 games against my Golden State Warriors and then disappears the last 3, especially in Game 7. He was a no-show in Game 7. He was terrible. Closeout games, Westbrook has not been good in his career. Save for 2018 against Utah. In closeout games, Westbrook's been awful. So in closeout games, AI might lose, but boy, he was going to go down swinging. He was going to go down, give you every last bit he's got. I've heard him called pound for pound, probably the greatest player ever. I mean, he's 6 foot, 6'1". Okay, could drop 30 on your head, 40 on your head easily. Okay, so yeah, Iverson's absolutely a better player all time than Russell Westbrook. It's not even close. So last topic of the day, Aaron Rodgers. Now we talked about Aaron the last couple shows. He talking about Aaron. He led off my show on Thursday. This is a few hours after the breaking news from Adam Schefter came out that said, hey, he's done with Green Bay. And now we found out, according to Yahoo Sports' Charles Robinson, Aaron Rodgers reportedly won't return to the Packers unless GM Brian Gutekunst is fired. If I'm the Packers, Mr. Gutekunst is getting fired tomorrow, with no disrespect to the man. I get it. He seemed like a good guy. He really does. But for, let's see, Aaron, this was Aaron's 13th year as the starter in Green Bay. For 13 years, the Packers, and I've said this many times on the show, the Packers have put a great team around Aaron Rodgers one time. What happened? They won the Super Bowl. That's what happened. Y'all know what happened. They beat Pittsburgh in the Super Bowl. Rodgers was the MVP of the Super Bowl. Okay? Time and time and time again. He's taken average rosters and average receivers. They've won the division. In some cases, they've gotten to the freaking NFC Championship game. Okay? Let's not sit here and act like, I mean, think about it. Since Aaron Rodgers was drafted in 2005, the Packers have drafted one offensive skill position player since. You know who that is? Jordan Love, the third-string quarterback. He wasn't even the backup. Jordan Love was not even the backup in Green Bay. He could even win the second-string job from a guy named, I think, Tim Boyle is the backup or whatever his name is. He couldn't even win the backup job, and he's a first-round pick. So, here's what you got to do if you're Green Bay. I think you can do 2 things to convince Aaron Rodgers to stay. And they didn't do him any favors in the draft. I like the Amari Rodgers kid from Clemson, but he's more of a gadget guy. He's not a guy you can put on the opposite side of Davante Adams who can make big plays for you and open it up for Davante as well. There's 2 things. Number 1, if Aaron Rodgers wants this general manager gone, push him out the back door. Push the general manager out the back door. Hire a new one. Okay? The second thing you need to do, trade for Julio Jones. Trade for Julio Jones. After June 1st, the Falcons are not going to trade him until June 1st because it'll be a massive cap hit, and they're already in cap hell, if you will. They're not going to, they're not going to screw themselves over even more. After June 1st, the Falcons are going to probably have Julio Jones on the trade block. And I talked about last week. How about Baltimore? Julio Jones will work great in Baltimore. How about in Green Bay? Okay. Matt Ryan's a very good quarterback. Matt Ryan is not a Hall of Fame quarterback. He still puts up big numbers. Still does. With Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams on the other side, we might see the Julio of old. And by the way, it's not like he's been bad these last few years. We haven't seen him much because the Falcons haven't been winning many games. Because they haven't been in the playoffs since 2017. So we haven't seen Julio that much on national TV. Pair him up with Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams. Man, you want to talk about the best receiving duo in football? Oh my gosh, you want to talk about football heaven for Aaron Rodgers as far as weapons? Goodness. I mean, Julio, Davante Adams, Aaron Rodgers. Packers fans, just dream about it. It might just be a dream. I don't know. But 2 things you need to do. Fire the general manager because Aaron clearly does not want him out. By the way, I saw this earlier today as well, that according to Ian Rappaport, the Packers released Jake Kumerow a day after Rodgers publicly praised the receiver. Okay? They say when they released Jake Kumerow, who Aaron Rodgers loved, They said that was a death knell in their relationship. That's according to NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport. So Aaron likes these guys, and they're kicking him out the back door. Aaron liked his quarterback coach a few years ago. They fired him without telling Aaron Rodgers. Eventually, if you keep doing things that you know your starting quarterback doesn't like, you can't be surprised when he wants out. You can't be. It's amazing it took this long. It's amazing it took this long for Aaron Rodgers to want out of Green Bay. So, I said a year ago on this show, I made 2 quarterback transaction predictions as far as, the elite of the elite. I said Drew Brees, this is before the whole controversy, 2020 will be Drew Brees' last year. He tailed off at the end of 2019. He didn't look good in the playoff game. I said, this is it for Drew Brees. After this year, he's going to retire, and that's exactly what happened. I also said Aaron Rodgers is going to play 2 more years in Green Bay. I could very well be wrong about that. It might just be 1. It might just be 1. He might be somewhere else in training camp this year. I thought it'd be in 2022. Apparently, it's going to be in 2021. He's put Denver on his wish list. He did put the 49ers on the wish list, but that's not going to happen now that they drafted Trey Lance, and they already have Jimmy Garoppolo, so that's not going to happen. Okay? But he also said the Raiders are on his wish list, which Raiders have a terrible defense. I think he'd be inheriting the same problems in Vegas as he does in Green Bay, because the Raiders have not drafted well since Gruden and Mayock got there. They have not drafted well whatsoever. Their defense has been trash for a good 5-6 years, and it still hasn't got better. Matter of fact, it seems like it gets worse year in and year out. So I don't know if Aaron really wants to go to Vegas. I don't think he really wants that. But it just goes to show you, if you don't cater to your franchise core, not pamper him, not give him ridiculous preferential treatment, but it's the very reason Tom Brady left New England, right? Belichick treated Brady, it was, I remember one year at training camp, Tom Brady's birthday is August 3rd. So this is during training camp, obviously. The media asked Belichick after practice about Tom Brady's birthday. Might have been his 40th birthday too. That's a big one. And Belichick's response was, yeah, it's also, and he gave some backup right guard's name. He said, yeah, well, it's his birthday too. And Brady's like, man, you can't even acknowledge my dang birthday, So, and the fact that they couldn't get him help on the outside, Tom was like, all right, I'm out. I'm out of here. I'm going to go to a team that's got receiving talent, that's going to treat me like the GOAT that I am. And what do you know? They won the Super Bowl. And Aaron had to look at this from a distance and say, okay, like, of course, this is the team he lost to in the NFC Championship game. He had to look across there and say, okay, there's a veteran quarterback who was not in a great position, okay? Didn't have his best, did not have great receiving talent on the outside. Okay, he went to a team that did. They recruited more guys, Gronkowski and Antonio Brown and Leonard Fournette, and they won the Super Bowl. He had to be looking at that and saying, man, if I pulled the same thing and I'm still only 37 years old, hey, let's do it. Now, I also discussed on Friday, maybe he may just go the Carson Palmer route. Retire just to get out of Green Bay. That's what Carson Palmer did. He retired just to get out of Cincinnati. So Rodgers might go the same route. I don't know. This is most definitely a developing story, but one thing we know for sure, there is bad blood between Aaron Rodgers and Packers management. And if firing the general manager keeps Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, you have to do it. You have to fire him. And I hate saying that. I don't like saying even with a coach who's not doing well, you got to fire him. Because at the end of the day, that man's got to go tell his family he lost his job. That sucks. I get it. But if it means you can hire a general manager who's actually going to be aggressive, which Green Bay hasn't maybe ever had, and it means you get to keep Aaron Rodgers, top 10 quarterback to ever play this game, still in his prime. He threw 48 touchdowns last year and won the MVP. He's still in his prime. So I don't know what the Packers are doing here. But you could do that, and you could trade for Julio Jones. That would be hard for Aaron to turn down at that point. Really hard. And I've even heard discussion, well, what about if Aaron gets traded and they go ahead and go with Jordan Love? They are not winning this division with Jordan Love. I'm here to tell you right now, with what they have, again, Aaron's been carrying this ship for years. for years. The one time they put a good roster around him, he won the Super Bowl. The one time he had a top 10 defense, he won the Super Bowl. I think Brady's the GOAT, without a question. Talent-wise, Rodgers is much better than Brady. Talent-wise, Rodgers might be the best ever in that department. And he looks at Tom Brady. He's like, look at all the weapons he has in Tampa Bay, and Mahomes with all the weapons he has in Kansas City, and Lamar Jackson with all the weapons he has, and Dak with all the weapons he has. And he's got to be saying, and I got Devontae Adams, who's a great player, and I got Valdez-Scantling and Lazard and the tight end. I can't remember his name. I don't remember his name. So he's like, I got nothing. I don't blame Aaron Rodgers for winning out of Green Bay. I'll say that. So with that is all the time we have for today's show. Thank you guys so much for stopping by and watching on Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitter. If you're listening to the podcast, we appreciate that as well. You can listen to any episode of Carving It Up on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, Anchor, as well as wherever you listen to your podcast. Hit that subscribe button right here on YouTube. Hope everybody has a great week. See you on Thursday. As always, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. On these streaming platforms, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. You know where to find us. Continue to stay safe, y'all. God bless y'all. Peace out.